I, 22 female, think I might be falling for my adoptive father, 29 male. Throw away, because yeah. This is a little bit messy and my head is all over the place, so I apologize in advance if I'm not making great sense. My father passed away almost 2 years ago in a car accident. I'm doing alright with that. It was tough but I'm managing. And my mum bailed when I was young, so after my father passed I didn't have much in terms of family. I have great friends who supported me endlessly, and I lived with some briefly, but renting a room, working and studying full time was putting a lot of pressure on me. Before my father passed he was in the military and served in a few tours. When he was in he met a lot of people, one of them I'll call John. I had met John a few times when he came over, and he and dad always seemed incredibly close. They both had some issues to deal with after going to war, so they seemed to help each other quite a bit. I didn't know at the time, but when they were overseas John made a promise to look after my dad's family should he get seriously injured or so. After my dad passed away John offered me a place to stay. I turned it down at first because despite his close relationship with my dad, I didn't know him too well personally. After a while living with my friends for a little bit I stumbled into him and he offered me a room again. I decided to take it because he said there was no expectation to pay. I still worked my off cleaning the house / running errands for him. I didn't want to be a burden, and his place was close to both work and study. It was a bit awkward at first, but he turned out to be a pretty relaxed guy and we have quite a bit in common. At the start we didn't really see much of each other, but now we spend a few nights a week watching movies on the couch, playing board games, going out for food, etc. It's always been 100% platonic, and he has never ever made any moves on me, by the way. He's legitimately one of the nicest people I've ever met. One more thing that's kind of important. John got discharged due to medical reasons, physical and mental, so he doesn't need to work due to a pension. He still volunteers at some places, but he doesn't have a 9 to 5. After spending so much time with him, he's started to feel like an older brother / father to me, and he's pretty much the closest thing to family that I've got. If I wasn't an adult I probably would have asked him to adopt me by now. I didn't think of him in any other way until a few of my friends came over to my place for pre-drinks one night and they all made a few comments about John, calling him hot, flirting with him a little bit. I got a bit jealous, but I just figured I was being protective of him because I care about him, I guess. After that night some of my friends asked me if I ever thought of him that way and I denied it, but they kept going on about how attractive he is. He is handsome, I'll admit, but I just never saw him in that way. A few weeks ago John also had a pretty bad panic attack from his PTSD. I came home and he was sitting on the couch trembling and hyperventilating. I didn't really know what to do, so I called one of his other former army friends and just sat with him and consoled him until 2 of his mates showed up to help calm him down. I don't know what it was, but something about looking after him and seeing him vulnerable like that just made some feelings which I really don't understand surface, and it's been doing my head in. Ever since that I've been acting kind of strange around him, and he knows it. He asked if I was freaked out a little by his panic attack and I assured him I wasn't, and that I was just glad that I could help in some way. A couple of nights ago he went out on a date and I just couldn't get the thought of another woman with him out of my mind. So I crashed at a friend's place that night just in case he brought her home. It's ridiculous, I know, but I just couldn't stomach the thought. I really just have no idea what the duck to do. I don't want to ruin our friendship and I don't want to scare away the only family I've got, but I don't know how to make these feelings go away. What do I do? TLDR. Dad passed away. I started to live with someone who served with my dad. Starting to get feelings for him, and it's driving me crazy, but I don't want to scare him off and lose the only family I've got left. I think you're going through a tough time and are projecting onto the nearest strong male figure. I don't want to invalidate your feelings, but I've been through something similar, and you gotta learn to distinguish between falling in love with someone and falling in love with how he has helped you and treated you. This totally happens when someone steps in to take care of you when you are emotionally vulnerable. You are so much more likely to project. Similar to Stockholm Syndrome, but in a better way. Thanks for your response. I get where you're coming from. How did you learn to figure out the difference between the two? As far as I can tell, I have serious feelings for him, not just because of how he's helped me, but because of the man that he is. But I don't want to be stupid and confuse myself even further. If you have serious feelings for him as a person, do not refer to him like a father or any sort of male figure that's supposed to take care of you or nurture you in any way. If you continue to think of him as a father figure, you're going into a relationship with an unequal power balance. If you want to start a relationship, you need to make sure you're both equals, and that starts with moving out of his place and getting your own. Right now, he's a caretaker. He needs to become a regular guy that you have feelings for. Why would you call him your adoptive father when you were an adult, when you moved in with him? Yeah, he's not our adoptive father. Both my parents adopted me when I was a child, and the fact that she has no type of guilt over how this would be in relationship is proof of it. That, and he's only a couple years older, especially after less than 2 years. Bizarre. Sorry, I know it's not the best way to describe him. I've read through a lot of these comments and they make sense. I just wasn't sure of the best way to describe the relationship, I guess. He's always acted as more of a protective figure than just a regular guy close to my age. Before we started talking more and realizing we have a lot in common, it just felt like he was a really awkward foster parent or something. You were 20 when your father passed away. This guy, a mere 7 years older than you, is hardly your adoptive father. Older brother maybe, but honestly, he's an unrelated male whom you only really got to know when you were both well into adulthood. I don't see what the issue is here. If he returns your feelings, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you two having a relationship. If he doesn't, move on. In either case, it's probably a good idea getting your own place for a bit. Your title feels a bit batty, honestly. Yeah, I didn't really choose the best title to describe him. I'm just not sure of our relationship and it's doing my head in. I think getting my own place is a good idea if I can't get over this, or if it doesn't work out. Thanks, and sorry if the title annoyed you. The loss of a parent is a horrific thing. You never really get over it, but you still need to get into the adult/grown woman mindset. Barely any guy regards himself as an uncle/father to a younger woman once she's over 18. I doubt this guy has ever viewed you in that way, and if he has, it's weird. That's not to say that he may still consider you too far below his dating age range. I think getting your own place will be a really good way to move forward and be on a more equal platform with him. He's not your adoptive father. He's your dad's friend who gave you a room to stay, and now you're developing feelings for him, which is perfectly okay. I don't think she's being literal with him being an adoptive father, but it's how she views him at the moment. I don't think OP should date him or anything though. I know it's okay, but I just can't help this part of me that feels wrong about it all. I think I need to figure out how I see him in my head. After reading a lot of these comments, I've sort of realized that I don't know how I view him myself. Half of it is like a protective figure and the other half is more of a peer. Thank you though, it's nice to hear that this isn't wrong and I'm not crazy. Stop making this something weirder than it actually is. He's not your adoptive father. He didn't adopt you. You're both in the same age group. You've known him for 2 years. You met him when you were both already a grown adult and had been adults for years already. He is your late dad's friend and your peer. He is your roommate, not your adoptive brother and certainly not your adoptive father. Is this a title your roommate has claimed or something? I feel like the only reason it's weird for you now is because you're seeing him as your adoptive father rather than as your roommate. And your friends are seeing him more as a roommate to you. I don't know if you're unnecessarily falling for him. You could be possessive over him too because he's the only male figure in your life right now that you're close to. You probably wouldn't want anyone taking that away from you. He's probably the second most important guy in your life to you right now next to your dad. So of course you care about him. Personally, I wouldn't do anything with him. But you can use him as an example of what to look for in someone you would like to date, minus the PTSD part. Worldwide comments of the day. You don't love her. You love the idea of her. These are two different things. Run, my dude. Run. Really helpful getting different viewpoints. I also think she did even more with her ex. Still not over with her feelings for ex. I'm older now, But my ex did the same, then it got worse with much more pain. Cut your pain and get away now, as pain and not being able to trust is not worth it. She practically admitted she is not ready with you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more interesting and relatable Reddit videos.